Recording again. Okay.
Okay. Chase, Oklahoma State. Andrea from Carolina. Okay. The first question, to help our audience understand who the panel is, what is your school independent, dependent, or interdependent? And then how much of your budget comes from the university? So we'll just start.
So we are interdependent at West Virginia University. In 2001, we became part of the university. We used to be a separate organization. We are interdependent. We report through the university engagement team at WVU. I actually have a dual reporting structure, which is interesting to most folks. I report to our VP of Alumni Relations. Many of you know him, Kevin Berry. And then I have a dual reporting structure, a dotted line into university engagement. I report to the executive director of marketing there because I was the only marketing director in university relations that did not report to him. So they moved me into a dotted line reporting structure. And a portion of our budget comes from the university. So while we are interdependent, we have a separate 501c3, but still a portion of our budget comes from the university.
Chase Carter from Oklahoma State. We are independent, and we actually went independent in the early 2000s. And so we have our own facility now, and we're a 501c3 as well, but we do get about, I think it's around 15% of our budget comes from the university. But we have a self-governing board that we operate under, but we do still work obviously very closely with the university, and we also have a contract with our foundation as well.
We at Carolina Alumni are independent, and as of last July, we get a big $0 from the university. So times they are a change.
Great. So then this question is for all of you as well. What leadership changes has your organization seen in the last 3 to 5 years? And then two kind of follow-up questions. What are some challenges that you've encountered with these changes, and what are some fun things that your new leaders have brought to the table?
Okay, I'll go first again. So at West Virginia University, we've had quite a few changes in the last year. So I mentioned earlier, being interdependent is new for us. In 2021, we became part of the broader university. In that change, we changed leadership. So Kevin Berry is now our VP of Alumni Relations from our previous president. We have a board of directors, but they went from being an operational board to more of an advisory board. So we've had that kind of shift, and so we've been working through that dynamic of the board kind of learning what their new role is and adapting to that new role. We also are about to have a presidential change at West Virginia. So in 2025, we'll be getting a new president. Many people also know our president. It's E. Gordon Gee. He's been at several universities. He was a previous president at West Virginia, and he is back, and he's going to retire. So we are in the process of doing a presidential search. So with all that change, of course, comes all the things of trying to adapt to new leaders. Kevin has been at the Alumni Association for a long time, so this is now his chance to really put his stamp on the organization. He's very beloved with our alums, so getting to work under him is really special, and getting to see how people respond to him when we're out on the road is really awesome. So that's been really fun. I'm relatively new to the organization. I started May of 22, so I came after the leadership shift. So I have been kind of just with Kevin as he's been new in the role and working with him. But I'm really interested to see how things change when we change presidents, because right now alumni is part of the broader strategy for the university, and it kind of has been moving that way over the last couple of years. But we will be seeing how that will change or become more or less with the new president. So all the change. I tell Kevin all the time, I'm like, we're in transition with a capital T. So that's just basically the mantra that we roll with.
And I'll start my discussion just by reminding everybody what you hear at CAMP stays at CAMP. So
Love that.
I've been at OSU for now 17 years, and I have worked under 7 different presidents. I think the longest term was 4 or 5 years. So most recently, our foundation borrowed our president back in 2020, so they failed a search, and so they took our president from us, who we very much loved. And then COVID hit, And our board hired our first non-alum president, which did not go over well, full transparency. And then I mentioned COVID. He was not able to get out and meet our alumni. We were all remote, so I think we met him over Zoom for the first time, so that was awful. So the board kind of gave this individual a year pass because of COVID, and then we kept trying, and it continued to not go well. So he moved on in 2002. And then we had another presidential search, and we ended up hiring one of our board members who is an OSU grad. And I've heard a lot of people talk, I've heard many people say, oh yeah, they ended up hiring a board member. And I think there's pros and cons to that. We were very thankful that she knew the organization from that standpoint. She had been on our board for several years. So she was really able to work well with the board moving forward now as our president. And she's been there now for 2 years. So we've seen our fair share of leadership changes as well. I would definitely say, I know there's some schools where maybe the alum, non-alum would not be as big of an issue. It was a huge issue for us and for our alumni. We would continue to get questions to the staff at events of who is this person, why is he here? And of course we had to put on bright smiling faces and say everything is great and it's fine. When in the end everyone, they were all speaking what everyone was thinking, which was this is not going to work. He's not kind of one of us. So that was a big challenge. Obviously everybody went through COVID, so hiring a new president right at the beginning of COVID was a big challenge. Not that we could have, really affected the timing with that, but that definitely hurt engagement between the staff and alumni and the president as well. But the good things, our new president, she's a former educator. She received her doctorate from Oklahoma State, so she knows who we are. She has the board experience. And she's also a former superintendent in our community, so she was really well connected with a lot of the community leaders, and that really helped from our perspective as well.
We're the polar opposite. So I've been with Carolina Alumni for 16 years. We had the same president for 41 years who just retired last year, and he retired at 76. And now we have our new president onboarded, and she's my year, class of 2008, and she's been here just today as her first year anniversary. And I would say challenges with that are, I think, our president moving after 41 years, the university started kind of diving into a few things, and so that's how we've gotten down to $0. And with that, we have records housed within our office, and so they're like, the university is taking our records department and moving them into development, which is sad for us because that's just been like our strong suit. Like we can pull all day, sound records, amazing. Like I would put them at the best in the biz, and so it's a big bummer to see that go. So just really anxious about how that plays out down the road, for sure. And then just like having this new president, I would say what are the positives is like just relevancy, like trying to make a case with my previous president who wasn't on social media, like didn't know what Twitter was or anything like that, was really, really hard. And so just having someone who eats, sleeps, and breathes that just like the rest of the world does has been really helpful in moving forward. Efficient, like we weren't on Microsoft Teams, no one in our office had laptops because our previous president didn't believe in them. So we would bring our notepads to meetings when like everyone else on campus was souped up with laptops. So just like bringing us up to 2024 in general, I would say has been amazing. And I don't discount that president kept us so sound financially previously that we are in such a good place today, and that would be the strong suit. But and then just fun, like our office had a lot of forbidden rooms. There were signs that said no everywhere, you couldn't eat or drink anywhere. And so one just specific example of someone coming on board and letting us be creative and do new things is we would have this board meeting every year. It was 45 minutes, you'd look at the audience and everyone was asleep. And it was just terrible, and so our new president was like, let's try something new. So we had a board orientation hall crawl, and we like took them all over our office. Like we were throwing basketballs, we had loud music, there was popcorn, we were getting crumbs everywhere. But like the staff was smiling, like the board was smiling, they retained the information, like they couldn't believe how much fun they had. And so it just seemed like a new dawn has arrived, and so I feel like just so much enthusiasm is going to be pushing us into the future for sure.
Great, thank you. Okay, this next question is for Chase and Andrea. So OSU and Carolina both currently have strategic plans. So can each of you share a little bit about your strategic plans and maybe if what your school's planning process looks like, any outcomes and deliverables? And we have some slides. So I can Chase your first.
So we're just about to enter year 2 of a 3-year strategic plan that we developed with Hogan Taylor, an outside agency, last year. So I'll give a little bit of background. This is, I think, kind of the third-ish strategic plan or initiative that I've been involved with at OSU. We previously did what we called growth initiatives, which were kind of short sprints where we were split up into teams and everybody had one specific project that they worked on. So this one's a little bit more overarching, but we have 4 different themes or goals that go throughout it, and I think those are spread across 3 slides. Obviously, funding, probably our biggest goal. So we have percentage of increases related to membership, and then we also have goals for increasing our corporate partnerships across both the campus and the Stillwater community and beyond there. So those are some of ours. Developing our core narrative and our why and how. So that is one of our big ones that the Marcom team has been working on. We have a Cowboy Code that was developed by University Marketing that we are kind of dovetailing into everything that we do at the Alumni Association as well. Marketing Homecoming is kind of our biggest activity. That's something that we're well known for, but not a lot of people know that the Alumni Association does it. That's a big section as well. And then the 4th one is facilitating intentional engagement with alumni. Kind of going back to our roots, we are a land-grant school. There are 77 counties in Oklahoma. All of the extension offices report up through Oklahoma State. So our new university president is being very vocal and intentional about making sure that everybody in Oklahoma knows that we touch every county in the state, which our rival does not. So that's a big point in her hat. Facilitating engagement, obviously, with OSU athletics, increasing volunteerism, all those things are big points that our engagement team is working with. So I mentioned this is a 3-year plan. We went through several iterations with the Hogan Taylor team, sitting down with them, with our staff, with our board, which was all super helpful, doing a SWOT analysis, obviously. And then they're all quantifiable goals, they're all date specific, so it's really clear we can track our progress. And then all of these individual objectives, which are kind of those sub numbers there, those are all assigned to a member of our leadership team. And when I say leadership, that would be like director level and above. So it's probably 10 to 15 in that group. So we all have our marching orders, so to speak. So we're able to really keep track on who's assigned to what, who's responsible for what. The leadership team meets every other month. And so we all go around and give updates on our specific initiatives related to the strategic plan. And then our board meets quarterly, and they have broken up the departments so that at least once a year, I provide updates on all the things that I'm working on for the strategic plan to the board to keep them informed. So that is everything for me.
I would start out by saying I don't know what will shock you more, like me taking this glass right here and throwing it and it not breaking, or that we have had no strategy in 25 years. So we are super excited because I just felt like for the past 16 years, like there's ideas zipping all over the place and you're trying to keep up and catch them, and there's no direction, and we've just kind of been, just hobbling along. So I'm very, very excited. And I thought we're just like you, a very similar plan style. I'm trying to think of specifics. We had a business school professor who does consulting on the side, onboarded with us last fall and rolled out very similar, just outlining a lot of what you said, like meetings every Monday. We have a senior leadership team who is constantly in touch with this consultant group. And we just now got to like our one-pager, which is 10 objectives and 30 initiatives. And I would say one thing that's different for us that's kind of cool is it goes beyond our senior leadership team. So to give everyone in the organization a chance to shine and own something is everyone has an initiative or multiple initiatives, and they're in charge and they have a committee that they lead. And so I think for a lot of our employees who are new grads or a few years out, like that's such a big deal for them to be able to get in front of the staff and introduce a lot of what they're doing. But same, we did a SWOT analysis, and weaknesses I'm sure we can all relate to, but connection to younger generations, threats, declining participation among alumni, and things like that. And so what can propel us going forward? BHAGs, I'm sure y'all sat down and did your BHAGs, your big, hairy, audacious goals. And one of ours is having like a coffee shop in our building would be a dream, so that we can have all the students in and just be like a place to have a lot of energy and fun. But overall, but very similar.
Our new president, when we were doing this a year ago, she has big audacious goals, and she's like, yeah, we can double membership in 3 years, and Melissa and I are at the back. Oh my God, no we can't. So that quickly transitions into I think it's a 7% increase over 3 years.
Okay, I like that.
But it has definitely been challenging. I mentioned all the leadership turnover. Every time we'd get a new president, they would have new ideas, and so we would have to go through this process all over again. And our staff who are not in those leadership meetings would always come to us and be like, where are we going? What are we doing? Because we get a new president, then they take 6 to 9 months to try to figure out what they want to do with everybody, and then all of a sudden then they were out the door and it was somebody new. So it's interesting how long-time leadership or lots of other quick changing can still have the same issues with these strategic plans.
And I'm happy to share our one-pager too. If I put that up there as a slide, y'all won't be able to see it because there's 40 ideas on here that we all have to do in the next 3 years as well. But y'all are welcome to like take a little screenshot or come up here and take a picture. But our my headband is our school color, and our alumni association is burgundy and hunter green. So that's like a big goal for us, just to reimagine our whole alumni center.
You have different colors?
Okay. We don't know who picked those.
Okay.
Great, thank you both. So Jessica, West Virginia is in a little bit of a different situation, so I'll pull up your slide here. Can you talk a little bit about your school strategic planning process, kind of where you're at?
So I don't have a glass to throw, but
Thanks for warning us about that. That was great.
You scared me.
So our university president is pretty open about not liking strategic plans, so he prefers strategic action is how he refers to it. So we kind of follow that mantra at West Virginia. We do have a strategic alumni strategy group that meets. It is part of our university engagement team. I'm going to use university engagement, university relations interchangeably because we just changed names recently, so if you hear one of those, it's the same group. So our university engagement team has representatives on the alumni strategy team. It is our alumni association staff and some folks from UE communications. Our marketing team, we have some folks from the WVU magazine, because the WVU magazine is not an entity that is within the alumni association. It is a separate entity. So that's kind of an important piece for us as well. But just to go through a couple of things on the slides, these are the things that we basically follow. It's kind of like our strategic plan. This is our strategic action. So we follow the university's first principles. These were established in our academic transformation. If you follow the Chronicle of Higher Ed, you know that we went through some pretty big changes at West Virginia in our academic departments recently. And as a result of that, we came out with these first principles. So we put students first. That is what it basically sounds like. We put our students first. We are deeply rooted in our land grant mission at West Virginia. We are the land grant flagship institution of West Virginia. We are currently on a campaign through the university to reclaim the flagship status because a friend to our south, not a conference rival, but our state rival, has gone around and started saying that they are the flagship institution, and we are reclaiming that. So we were being very literal about that and taking flags around the state of West Virginia to remind people that we are the flagship institution. So we are deeply rooted in that land grant mission, like I mentioned. We are throughout the state of West Virginia. It is a big deal to us. I mean, I have the state of West Virginia on my shirt. We care deeply about the state. You're not just a West Virginia student, you are a community member of West Virginia when you are attending that school. And then differentiate I wrote this down just so that I could make sure that I said this correctly. We must differentiate ourselves by investing in the initiatives that uniquely serve our campus community, reflect our values, and play to our strengths. One thing about our institution is we are an R1 research institution, so we want to make sure that everyone knows that. That's really important for us and for the state of West Virginia. Our Alumni Association mission is up on the board. We provide lifelong support of our alumni and friends, and we serve the interests of West Virginia University. So when we are thinking about our strategy, we are thinking about that mission. And then we have our strategic goals. And this is something that, as we've transitioned our board from a more of an advisory role to an advisory role, we always put these strategic goals in each communication that we put out to them, just to remind them this is what we're doing, this is why we're here, this is kind of the goals and mission that we're moving forward with. So you can see those there. We're cultivating a multi-general approach, we're growing and strengthening the base of our alumni, and we're prioritizing university, community, partner, and corporate partnerships to engage and to increase engagement system-wide. So West Virginia University is WVU in the Morgantown campus, it's also Potomac State University, and West Virginia, or WVU Tech. So we have a system-wide campus in Beckley, and then Kaiser is where Potomac State is located. So we're really throughout the state. We have a large WVU medicine presence throughout the state. So those are a lot of the things that we really think about when we're thinking about strategy. We're thinking about who are our alumni, what is important to them. Obviously, even for folks who do not live in the state of West Virginia anymore, the state of West Virginia is important to them. They talk about it. It's something when I lived in Indiana for 12 years before I moved back to West Virginia. It was something that I talked about all the time. I drove my colleagues at the NCAA nuts about it because I was like, oh, in West Virginia we do this. And they're like, okay, we get it. But it's something that it just gets ingrained in you. So that's really what we're thinking about when we're thinking about our alumni audience, among many other things.
Great, thank you. Next question is, what are some of the biggest strategic plan challenges that you faced, and have you been able to overcome these challenges, and if so, how? We can, whoever wants to go, but for everybody.
I'll just say, I'll say a list of things. That's gonna be a lot to say a little, but just in the past year, new president for a year and a half, we just worked on a rebrand and had a name change from UNC General Alumni Association to simply Carolina Alumni. We just signed on with Salesforce Marketing Cloud and has had our team learning that. We're in the middle of the PCI Oral History Project. We just signed on with HiveBright to build out all our communities. And then we're rolling out the strategic plan with these 30 initiatives. And so it's just finding the time and prioritizing. And I think just going back to our organization, having the harder conversations of things we need to say no to, because I feel like we just keep piling it on. And it's what is only getting 12 clicks in an email, or that 25 alumni attended for us, that would be a small number. And just saying no and being okay with that. And I think having new leadership now more than ever is the time that we can say that and feel good about it. But I would just say that's the biggest thing is we cannot accomplish all this. Dre said it in the first session on my team, we're 1.75 in our marketing department. And it's to avoid burnout, something's gotta give.
No, I would definitely echo that. With some of the other projects that we've done, like the growth initiatives that really had a hard start and stop date, I feel like those for us were to some extent a little bit easier to tackle because it was a lot clearer for everybody to understand. There wasn't 30 of them, there was 4 of them. Wow. And we did, that included all of the staff, so everybody had buy-in. But I think it's really important to start small and be realistic about what you can accomplish. I mentioned what our new president thought we could do with membership. And of course, our longtime membership director said that is, if that was possible, we would already be doing that. Mm-hmm. So really be realistic and be vocal and push back against your administration if they're really trying to push something on you that is not gonna be able to come to fruition, whether that's because of time or resources or what. So, I would say be honest and be realistic about that. Remember that you still have your everyday job to continue to do. So we would have all these meetings, and it's I still have to keep putting out all this other stuff in addition to bringing on a new CRM or building a new mobile app version or something like that. So that is always going to be a challenge when they try to throw these strategic plans at you. It's yeah, you got to continue to do your everyday job too. So
Yeah, I think one of the challenges for us is that, you know, we don't have a set strategic plan, but we've had a lot of change at our university, and so it almost, this is a space where it's a safe space. It's also been kind of a relief because we don't have these goals that I'm not able to hit. So we do have our strategic goals, but they're pretty broad, and so I can continue to work towards these. We just relaunched a membership campaign. We hadn't done membership for at least 5 years. We're a dues-based organization, and so our numbers had kind of like leveled off and then started to drop a little bit. So we are relaunching a membership campaign. We've had some staffing changes in our organization. We are also doing, we call it the Moments Everlasting campaign. So we talk about those big life moments as an alum, both big and small. So we've got all that moving. And so for me to not have to say like, check this box, it's been a little bit of relief, but also can be stressful because I'm a person who likes to be organized, and I will write things on my to-do list just so I can cross them off. And so to not be able to have that sometimes is hard. So I've kind of like set my own goals and said like, okay, I'm gonna cross this off because I did this. But having that strategy team and having that support from the broader university has really helped us as we've gone through this transition. Because like I said, new president, we've got a new VP in our organization, we've moved into the university, we're looking at a presidential change. So like, we really are in transition, probably with all capital letters at this point. So it's been a relief, but also a challenging as well.
Great. Let's see. Okay, I think we can open it up for audience questions. I do have a couple prepared if the audience is being quiet. But does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? Yeah? Yes.
So I think I'm in a similar situation as Chase, where in the last 2.5 years since I've been at my foundation, so I'm under the Advancement Foundation, we have had 3 different presidents, CEO, executive director, like all of them kind of interchangeably. What advice can you give for me in a situation of always having to deal with somebody new, and just what advice would you have?
Yeah. I would say one thing that we quickly discovered is how much we rely on each other as a staff. Not only internally, but when you are getting questions from campus partners or community partners, and they're kind of looking to you like, is this new president going to be okay? And so, you know, Melissa and I really discovered that we kind of excelled in that role because we'd been there for a long time. And so we were still kind of able to keep the ship afloat while the new presidents were still trying to figure out, you know, what they were doing. So I would definitely kind of empower your own staff and your team members as you're going through these transitions, that, you know, you're going to get through it, and empower them to know that they know how to do their job regardless of, you know, what the leadership above them is telling them. Yes, there will always be changes, but at the end of the day, they have more institutional knowledge than the new president coming in. So I think that really helped us. Especially when it got to be like the 3rd president and then the 4th president, and we're like, well, we're still here, you know, we're still swimming, and they haven't been able to get rid of us yet. So, but definitely, you know, relying on your coworkers and confiding in them, because you're all going through these transitions together.
Other questions? Yeah.
I'm Holly with Clemson. I'm going into my 10th year at Clemson, and we've had 3 strategic plans in that time. So I'm with you, Chase. Our CEO loves the strategic plan.
Yeah.
How have you guys? Can you speak to maybe a partnership with another department or office across campus that you did a program with, and now with your strategic plans, maybe you've had to shift directions, or your goals don't align with that organization's goals as much? Have you had to pivot the program or event altogether, or just say, hey, we're out? Like, can anybody speak to how that has shifted?
I've got one of those in this current strategic plan. Literally, I think it had been printed, and then lo and behold, athletics, shocker, said, oh no, we don't want to do that with you anymore. So they have their own kids program. We have a kids program. Melissa wanted to combine them because their kids program data does not get into the database, so they don't get the same like recruitment materials that ours do. So we tried to combine them and got the athletic director sign off, and then lo and behold, their staff was like, no, we don't want to do that. So there's one in here that's been like crossed out. So yes, it's a living document. You always have to treat it like it's a living document. It's going to change. You just have to be prepared for that. And yeah, we've done so many of these now that it's like, yeah, it's going to change. We're going to change the numbers. We're going to add things and subtract things. It just comes with the territory.
Great. Yeah. Yes.
How do you deal with alumni or community members who see the university as a whole when typically most university departments operate in silos and you are not necessarily the department or you're not the entity that made the change, but people don't necessarily see it that way. Like we have a lot of change in leadership, but it's not been our president. It may be the athletic director, or it may be the dean of this college. We are having issues where you're having leadership changes within certain departments or department heads, and their vision may be different from their department, but because the university is operating in silos and we haven't gotten to their place where we're all holding hands and working together. Can you speak to how to not maybe get the community or alumni to understand? Because I don't think that they're ever really going to truly understand that that wasn't you.
Right.
But can you speak to maybe a way to help ease their concerns about what's happening when it's not directly your thing? Am I making sense?
Yes.
Yeah, for
Who
sure.
wants to take that first?
I can go first.
Okay.
With academic transformation at WVU, we had a lot of alumni feedback and a lot of feedback about a particular department at our university which was cut. And if you want to read, check out the Chronicle of Higher Ed if you want to read in detail which departments were cut. But it was hard to kind of go out into an alumni space and say like, we understand. And so one of the things that our university does, and other universities might do this too, is we create a list of talking points and we give those to everyone. So all the communicators across the university get them, I get them, I work closely with our VP, I work with our staff who I know are gonna be, boots on the ground, out at events and say like, here are the talking points, here's how we're talking about it across the university. And so while our departments might kind of work in silos, and we had 13 colleges, we now have 9, we've combined a lot of them together, but all those communicators are also receiving them. So the communicators that have been affected by the changes, the ones who have not, as well as any leadership that's gonna be out. So that's deans, that's VPs, that's everyone, to make sure that we're all talking about it in the same way. So that's been really helpful for us. We also I sit down with our VP sometimes if I know he's gonna be out on the road, and I say like, what questions do you think you're gonna get and how can I help you answer them? And he's got a lot of background in this too, so it's basically just gonna be that sounding board to each other of like, how are we going to navigate this together? Because we've had to navigate quite a bit. We've received, emails from alums who are upset. We didn't really have any kind of stake in the broader cuts, but we are the ones who are the relationship builders in the university. And so we want to maintain those relationships because these folks are our alumni, they're our donors. These are the people who are talking about our university. They're also helping us recruit because we know those alums across the country are doing, boots on the ground recruiting for us, even when we're not realizing it. They're talking about their experience at WVU and making sure that the students in their community are also interested in that school and maybe taking a look at it as well.
So we're like a little bit of the opposite, like we embrace all that, but with us being independent, our magazine's been published for 112 years and it's known to our audience as being non-biased, a fact teller, not a PR piece. And so if something is rattling the university, we're telling that story, where the university probably would rather us not. We are interviewing the people and hearing voices and actually being a platform for our alumni to comment on Facebook their feelings, and we put that story out that they're reacting to. So I would just say that it is very different, but what people love, and I would say our magazine is one of our top perks that our audience enjoys, even in this day and age in our news coverage, because you're not getting that anywhere else. So it's very unique in that regard. And then we're just always lending an ear. So like we didn't make the bad decisions, and I feel like you could Google UNC any other week and there's something that has happened on our campus. But we're always happy to lend an ear and be a platform for them to communicate. Like, we'll of course hide comments as they come in that are offensive, but we generally try to keep a place where they can voice their concerns.
I would echo that. I think, just, making sure that they have an opportunity to vent.
Yes.
Because they're passionate. That's where if they weren't passionate, they wouldn't be asking those questions.
Right.
And so, we train our staff, yes, take the phone call, respond to the email, even if it has
Yes.
nothing to do with us. We want them to make sure that they've felt heard.
Yes.
And that we appreciate their passion for the university. And then we try to make sure that we're relaying those concerns to whatever department on campus they're referring to, whether they've raised ticket prices or there's a new department head that nobody likes or something like that has nothing to do with us. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they feel seen and heard and acknowledged.
Yeah, we actually set up an email address that they could email to say it was like transformation@mail.wu.edu, and they could send an email to that. But if they sent it to us, we also responded to it and took the time to take in their feedback as well. So
That's how our alumni will put the other alumni in place, so sometimes we don't even need to do it, but like on our Facebook feed, they'll be like, why are you so narrow-minded? And it's like, that's what we were all thinking, but we're glad you said it. And we didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
Kind of in that same vein, how do you get leadership to listen to you and know that you're providing the voice of the alumni for leadership? So recently, the state of Utah eliminated all DEIB programs, so we've had to merge all those offices. We have many alumni who are incredibly upset and leave comments on Instagram, stuff like that. And the PR person for the president talked to my boss, who's the chief alumni officer, and was like, "Oh, we didn't realize that alumni would be so upset about this."
What?
Yeah.
So how do you get? And I think and it was after weeks after this news had come out, and he kind of was like, "Oh yeah, I guess we didn't think about that. We need to ask you guys what alumni were saying." And it's yeah, why didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I would just say we second that, just putting the ask out there. We do ask, and luckily we have a president who believes in alumni having a voice, and it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and I think embracing that's just the life that we're all living. And there's pain points for sure. Our president will go into meetings with leadership and they'll say, we would have loved for you not to do that story. And I think she very much takes that no and then, just works it out in the future, whether we're changing an angle of a story where we do think that's worth telling. So I think she just has a good backbone that we're really proud of and excited about. But she'll for sure hear, the other voices.
Yeah, I guess I would say, I'm lucky that I haven't necessarily faced a situation where our leadership hasn't believed something I was trying to tell them.
Yeah.
But I think again, that's another opportunity to empower your staff to be transparent and to be honest with leadership. At the end of the day, I can't necessarily control whether she's going to act on my, recommendations or not.
Right.
But at least I know that I've done my due diligence in sharing whatever concerns that I have, hopefully in a manner that's going to convince her or him or whoever the case may be,
Right.
what the situation is. But we are constantly telling our staff, if you see something, say something. If you hear something, you need to share it with me in case we need to bring it to a bigger issue related to marketing. Is there talking points that need to be done? Does it need to be passed along to the university communications office because they don't know about it? And just being as transparent as possible to make sure everybody sees it.
And I would say we have a line we don't cross either. There's a coalition for Carolina group on campus that's basically very scrutinizing our university's leaders. And so we do have our magazine and operate on free speech, but they wanted to take out a full page ad that gave all of our university leaders an F. And so there's a line, of course, and we're no, and then, we worked through that and they submitted an ad that was probably a little bit safer and a good choice. So I think just balancing it, and our president was very open to hearing everyone's opinions about that, but ultimately, it's probably not a good idea if you're going to be a friend of the university to have F grades to all your university officials.
Yes. Okay, so we're out of time, but the